No justice, no peace. No justice, no
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of not being able to comfortably drive my car. Our government needs to see that. We're sick of it.
I attended the George Floyd Black Lives Matter protest to kind of put my passion into action. I was really just hoping to accomplish change.
I'm black, and I believe that Black Lives Matter. I don't like how my people are getting killed for no reason.
I'm always on social media. I gotta run Myth Mondays. So whenever I get on and someone's murdered through hate crime or through police brutality, it hurts. It hurts, and it hurts more than getting a wound. Like, you can heal from that. Like, you think about it every day. You think about Trayvon Martin. You think about Philando Castro. You think about all these people who have lost their lives. Racism and police brutality can't end overnight, but I think we need to start somewhere.
These acts are too tragic. They're too unacceptable for us to stay home during a time like this. Overall, I think protesting is just important in democracy, and I think that we have a duty to do, public acts of support or against certain things.
But just from seeing what had happened in other cities, it at first made me not want to go, but I knew I would regret it if I didn't show up and support my Black community, support my brothers and sisters.
This protest was humongous. Like, it was amazing, and a lot of people were holding up signs. A lot of people were chanting the call and response, and it was peaceful. And of course, people were angry. So it was just a lot of built-up emotion from all sides.
Started walking down Washington Street from Dudley to the State House. It was peaceful. There's literally no other word to describe it, to describe the walk that we had, but peaceful.
And I felt comfortable being in the space. It didn't feel like dangerous or any of these other misconceptions. It felt passionate. It felt good, and like I was doing the right thing, and that everyone there wanted to do the right thing. Law enforcement, until the very end, left us alone and recognized that we were peaceful and protesting for something that was right.
But when we got to the Boston Commons, things got a little out of control, and it was pretty dark. It was like 10:15, and then all of a sudden, just police cruisers just sped by. They went maybe like 50 miles per hour, and they didn't have much regards to all the people that were there.
I drive. I know when the engine's revving. I know when the engine is like when the acceleration is being pressed on, and I know the difference between a car that's smoothly going through something and a car that was trying to hit someone. And I felt like the two police cruisers that flew through the crowd where we were in the street were intended to hurt.
Everybody started to gather around this one police cruiser, and they were like throwing water bottles, kicking the car, getting on top of the hood and like banging on it. So they started to show their grievances, and they kind of wrecked up the car.
With that happening, people did react and throw water bottles at them, but that was after the fact that they almost hit like 20 people that were on the street twice.
When this happened, my immediate reaction was, where do I go? Like, is this the moment my mother gets a call that her daughter was killed by the police? Like, that was the first thing that went through my mind. Is this it? Is this how I die?
The police in general I felt like they knew how to mess up the piece, and they did that.
As I was on the Commons, me and my friend encountered a girl who had just been maced, and she's sitting there telling us that she was maced because, crying. She was sitting there crying, could not see, trying to recall her story, that she was merely recording a video of the cops beating on somebody. and they maced her because of it. And once that happened, she had lost her friends in the mix, and there was really nobody that she knew who was around her at this moment. Literally everybody who was helping this girl was a stranger. We had to call her friends and make sure that they met back up. It's sad that we're using tear gas on civilians. Do you even use that in war zones?
There was tear gas used, there were rubber bullets used, there was physical force used, there was profanity used in some videos, and I don't think that's acceptable from a group of people that are trying to peacefully protest. If you're trying to keep the peace, and if you're trying to ensure that the people that are out there are going to be safe, then I think that there should have been some type of warning before you rushed down the street going 50 miles per hour, not caring if you were going to run over a protester. While police were telling everyone to evacuate, they also simultaneously shut down the MBTA, the public transportation.
Time and time again, we see what police have been doing, and I have low expectations for them, so I'm not surprised that this happened between, like, the altercation between police and protesters.
And I'm sure everyone's seen too that Derek Chauvin had 17 misconducts in his reports, and that the other guy had like 6, and that is a result of a system that isn't well designed, because police officers that have 17 misconduct reports shouldn't be allowed on the streets, and the reports that came out on them were really similar to these situations. On one of them, Derek Chauvin barged into this guy's house. They're not situations that should have been swept under the rug the way that they were. These people should have been fired a long time ago.
I think, one, it should never take 50 states and foreign countries to protest for people who are clearly on camera killing George Floyd. It shouldn't take all of this. It shouldn't take, people looting or police shooting tear gas at people and harming the citizens, of this country, and all of that for people to be arrested and sent to jail.
And going forward, I think the steps for fighting for equality include things like voting, again, donating, research, understanding the issue, and also having conversations. I think conversations are an important part of fighting for equality, is making sure your inner circles are knowledgeable and not being afraid to have those challenging conversations with people that disagree with you.
I think it must be exhausting to be a Black person in America, because you're constantly having, you don't have to, but a lot of people do, is that they are explaining they're explaining systematic racism, and they're explaining white privilege when they're the ones that are affected by it. So non-Black people need to speak up a little bit more, I think, and have those conversations, because Black people are tired of it. Because if I'm tired of it, I can imagine how tired Black people are. To constantly having to defend and to constantly having to explain and educate, it's not their job.
Signing petitions and all that is obviously what I've been doing, but there needs to be a voice for people who aren't, getting voiced out. Letting our Asians and European descent friends and beyond them, showing them how and teaching them how to be our allies and learn about what's happening to us and how to communicate with us is very important too. I think learn from each other and build off each other would be amazing.
I don't think that this movement can be narrowed down in a couple policies. I don't think that this movement has a one problem. Yes, police brutality is one of them, and yes, the fact that there have been deaths of unarmed Black men is one of them, but I think that is also a result of a bigger system.
So this is something that I preach all the time, but the next step for fighting for equality is building a foundation, especially in the Black community. I believe that Black people will do what's best for Black people when given the opportunity and the resources. A way to say is like, you can eat at someone's table or you can build your own table. And I'm tired of eating at someone else's table. I want to build my own table, and I want the Black community to build their own table. Because when you build your own table, you have the power to make certain changes, and you don't have to ask to make the change. You can just make the change yourself, and you can make the change within the community. So one thing that we need to do is have our own supermarkets, have our own schools, have our own hospitals. We need to have our own essential businesses, because those essential businesses will be for Black people.
I would definitely participate in another protest because our fight isn't done. The work still needs to be done, and Boston Police Department, just because you took a knee the other day doesn't make everything okay. So I will definitely keep using my voice, because this is not the time to be silent. This is not the time for the police department to silence us, or Trump, or anybody for that matter. It's time to speak up. Period.
Yeah, rest in peace to all that have lost their lives to the senseless acts of violence through police brutality, hate crimes. Thank you all for supporting. Thank you, Kirsten, for reaching out. This is very appreciated. Love and peace.